If you are someone who's looking to get their first job in the cloud environment, or you are looking to transition from one role into the cloud environment, or you are coming from a completely non-IT background and you are looking to get your first job in cloud, how would you go about it? I'm going to tell you 7 things which hiring managers look for in potential candidates to make sure that they are the right fit for a cloud-based job. Okay, so this is the point number 1. Strong understanding of core concepts. So you see, the entire cloud environment is built up of multiple different domains. So in the earlier times, there were different designated engineers for different tasks like databases, compute, and then network, etc. But in today's day and time, based on the size of your organization, you may be at certain point expected to master everything in terms of networking, compute. So you should have a very strong understanding of all the different concepts. How is the traffic moving from one network to the other? How is the database connected to the compute engine and all that, right? So you should have a very strong understanding of the core concepts of cloud, like compute, storage, networking, etc. That's why when you go for a certification, while you are preparing for the certification, you have a very good understanding about the foundational services. So you study all the topics one by one. So when you finish studying a particular associate level cloud certification, you have a very good understanding of the overall concepts of most of the topics in cloud. So that's the first point. You should have a very strong foundational knowledge of all the core concepts about cloud. So the second point is that you should have a very strong hands-on knowledge about the different services that you're working on. So many times, many candidates will have a very strong theoretical understanding. They may have gone through several courses, they may have gone through several videos to gain a good understanding about the theoretical part, but where they lack is they do not know how to navigate through the console. They don't know how to deploy certain resources. Certain times the hiring manager may ask you, can you walk me through the steps to create an EC2 server? Or if you're talking about Azure or something, how do you create a virtual machine? So you should have a very hands-on approach about whatever you are learning. So if you're learning for AWS, whatever resources you have, you should have a very hands-on experience on that. Or in terms of Azure or GCP also, you should have a very good understanding about what are the different services that you're working on, and you should have hands-on approach. Whenever you are replying to an interviewer with the different steps on how you would proceed with a certain solution, they can very clearly make out whether you have practically done that or not. If you have not done certain things hands-on, you have not done it on the console, you have not personally created those resources, they can very easily make out that you have only watched certain videos or you have only gone through the process in theory and you have not really done it. So unless you have done certain hands-on you have done different projects, no hiring manager would be interested in giving you the opportunity to work on their environment, because they expect a candidate who is walking into a role to have a very good understanding by doing those hands-on. And when you have already done those hands-on practice, they get the idea that this candidate is serious about the role, this candidate is very disciplined, he or she has spent enough time practicing everything that they want to work on. And that gives them the confidence that, yes, if I give this opportunity to this person, they will spend more time in understanding the environment and they will become better at it. So once they see a foundational skill in you, that you are able to work on these things, you have worked on these things through practical approach, then they will definitely want to use. So that's one of the most important points, that you should have hands-on approach when you are learning something. Make sure that whatever you are learning in theory, you are practicing that on the console. You're creating resources, you're connecting resources, you're aiming for a certain project to get a certain output. When you do it that way, even when you're approaching an interviewer for an interview, you'll be able to explain the answers in such a way that they will be able to gauge very quickly that, okay, this person has worked on these resources, and they'll definitely give you a job opportunity. All right, so the third important technical skill that any hiring manager would want in you is to work with infrastructure as code. Whenever we are going through these demo videos, we always create different resources, we connect those resources, we deploy those resources or implement those resources through the cloud console, right? So for example, if you're working on AWS, you'll have the AWS console open. You'll go in and you'll click on certain links. You're basically working on the graphical user interface, and then you are making sure that you're creating those resources, right? But when you are working in an enterprise level infrastructure, you will always create those resources using code. For example, in AWS, you have CloudFormation. Similarly, in other cloud providers also, you have their own native cloud infrastructure as code tools. And then there are certain generic infrastructure as code tools like Terraform, through which you can deploy resources on any cloud environment. So whenever you are going for a job role, the interviewer or the hiring manager will always expect you to know an infrastructure as code tool. So if you have very good hands-on knowledge on a tool like Terraform, through which you can work on any cloud platform, that is a very, very positive indicator that you are a fit for this particular role that they are looking at. Okay, so how do you practice? You go ahead and irrespective of whichever cloud you're working on, you select the particular cloud environment's native tool for deploying resources through code. Okay, so in short, what does infrastructure as code do? You create the resources through code. So you write a particular code for which the templates are always available through the cloud provider itself or from Terraform, and then you use that code to deploy resources in your cloud environment. This is one of the key skills that you would require to deploy resources on any cloud environment. All right, the fourth technical skill that you need to have is the ability to design solutions which are scalable, which are secure, and which are cost optimized, right? So whenever you create a solution, so what is a solution? There is a particular requirement in your organization. So let's say something like deploying an application. Let's say they want to deploy their application on a virtual machine and they want to have a database connected and all the associated resources. Then you have to create those resources in such a way that if the requirement be that you require more resources in the future, you'll be able to scale them without having any impact on the current infrastructure, or you'll be able to increase or decrease the capacity of the resources you have based on the need, the requirement when it increases or decreases. And then the solution that you're creating should always be secure as well, because there will be certain applications running, they will have certain customer data which are all confidential. So you need to make sure that you have all the necessary security requirements in place, and then it should also be cost optimized. It's very much possible that you will be able to create a solution which is scalable, which is also secure. But if you go ahead and deploy every possible solution for security, and then you have all the necessary, you are deploying resources more than what is required, then that will go above a certain cost, which may be over the budget, right? So while you are securing your systems, while you are making them scalable, you also have to make sure that you are keeping them cost optimized. You have to make sure that you are not going beyond a certain budget which has been set for them, right? So you should make sure that it's a overall well-rounded off solution, that you have your cost in place, you have your security in place, you have your scalability in place. So recruiters always look for candidates who have a very good understanding of how to create an environment, how to create a solution which is scalable, which is secure, which is cost optimized. And when you have this skill set of designing a solution, it is a very positive indicator for any hiring manager to make sure that you are on their team. All right, the fifth important technical aspect that any hiring manager would look for in a candidate is a strong hold of the understanding of operating systems, scripting, and automation, right? So when you have a good understanding of operating systems and scripting, how to automate different tasks, whether it be on the operating system level or is it on the platform level in a cloud environment, then it gives you a very good advantage, because you can automate a lot of tasks that need to be done manually. For example, let's say that there is an organization or a client that you're working for, where they may have a lot of virtual machines, let's say 50 virtual machines, and those virtual machines are only used during the business hours, so 9 a.m. to something like 7 p.m. or something, right? So on a daily basis, they want those virtual machines to be shut down at 7 p.m. and restarted at let's say something like 8 a.m., right? So you need to come up with script or automation so that this happens automatically on a daily basis, right? Or it may even have some different timings over the weekend. So when you can do these kind of tasks which automates certain processes, so that there will be a cost saving for the overall organization, then that is an additional skill that any hiring manager would appreciate in you, right? So and that is one of the key skills that any hiring manager is looking for in a potential candidate. The sixth technical skill that any hiring manager would look for in a potential candidate is the skill of monitoring, logging, and technical troubleshooting in the cloud environment. So what does that mean? So whenever you are creating resources, you need to make sure that they are continuously monitored based on whatever metrics are very important for them. For example, let's say you have a virtual machine, right? So there will be certain aspects of that virtual machine which needs to be monitored 24 hours a day. So something like the CPU utilization of that virtual machine, the hard disk availability, right? The RAM utilization. So these are the parameters which needs to be constantly monitored, and then you need to set certain threshold levels so that if those parameters are going beyond those threshold levels, the system will automatically generate an alert and notify the administrator so that they can come in and check what is the reason that is happening, right? So you will have several different types of alarms, you will have several different types of threshold levels for many different parameters and metrics, right? So how do you configure them? How do you set the different values of at what level you should receive a warning? What level should it be critical, right? When you know how to work on these kind of parameters, that's a very strong skill that any hiring manager would be very happy to have in you, right? And then the second is logging. Whenever your resources are working, there will be a lot of different types of logs, in terms of system logs, in terms of management logs, in terms of access logs. All these logs are used whenever you need to run some checks on the systems, or you need to troubleshoot certain issue, or you need to find the root cause analysis of certain event that occurred. So logging is very critical. You need to log every event. You need to make sure all those logs are saved in a particular location where you can access it even if the systems are down, right? So all these are very important skill set. And the third one is troubleshooting, right? So whenever certain issue occurs, you should know what is the system which is affected and how can I troubleshoot it, right? So you should make sure that you have a very good understanding of all the systems that are under you, so that whenever certain systems go down, you should know what are the certain steps that I need to follow. For example, if an application is unreachable, you should go and check the connectivity. You should check whether the systems are up, the database connectivity is there or not, whether the virtual machine is running or not, right? So these are the different types of steps you should know how to troubleshoot. So logging the system's events, monitoring all the different parameters, troubleshooting when there are certain issues. These are some very key important skills that any hiring manager would be looking for in a potential candidate. All right, and the seventh and very important technical skill set that any hiring manager would look for in a candidate is their clear communication of technical decisions and their troubleshooting approach, right? So whenever a candidate, whenever an employee is communicating with application owners or the users, they need to make sure that they are clearly communicating what is the process they will follow if there has been an issue, right? So whenever they are taking certain technical decisions or certain troubleshooting steps, they should have a very clear way of communicating the decisions that they are taking. So for example, if there is a system which is down and they need to do certain tasks, to make sure that the system comes back up. They need to make sure that they are communicating with all the relevant stakeholders who are involved, so that everybody has a very good understanding of what is being done and how soon they can expect the systems to be restored. Let's take an example. Let's say that an employee ran a certain update on a system, and the system did not take that update really well, and it refused to come back up when it was restarted. Now the system is down and the system has to be restored to the previous state. Right now, let's say that whatever pre-approved downtime that they had, now that has passed, right? And all the users, all the application owners are now asking for an update saying, why is our application still down, right? So the employee, whoever is taking care, the engineer who is taking care of this particular system, has to make sure that they are giving a clear communication verbally as well as on email, saying that, this is the issue that we are facing. These are the steps, these are the troubleshooting steps that we are doing, or this is the rollback plan that we are following. And it will take this much amount of time for us to restore the system back to normalcy, right? So they should be able to clearly communicate whatever is happening, whatever troubleshooting steps they are taking care of, to make sure that everything is communicated to all the relevant involved stakeholders clearly and precisely. So there you have it. If you are looking to become a cloud engineer, or if you are looking to transition your role to a cloud engineer, these are some very important technical skill set that any hiring manager would look for in a potential candidate they are looking to hire. Make sure when you're preparing for your cloud job interview, you take care of all these things, and it will be very sure that you will be landing a job soon. It may not happen in the very first interview, it may not even happen in the second and third, but these interviews will prepare you for the fourth or the fifth, where you'll surely land a job if you follow all the tips that I've given. So wishing you all the very best. Have a wonderful cloud journey.